Okay, so hello everybody. I'm back with another video, which is, yes, it's winter and I don't normally make videos in the winter, but we have off of school today because it snowed like an inch, half inch, something. And I've been kind of wanting to do this video for a while now, so I'm finally going to do it. And it's going to be a newbie guide slash basic rundown of basicness of ball jointed dolls. So that's what this video is going to be. But before I start, thank you for 202 subscribers. I don't know where you all came from, but yes, so thank you. Especially on YouTube, I don't know why anybody is on here subscribing to me, because really, I don't do much on here at all. But this video, let's get started with this. So first of all, these dolls are ball jointed dolls or Asian ball jointed dolls, and then it's abbreviated to ABJD or just BJD. Sometimes they're referred to as dollfies, but technically that's incorrect because only Volks dolls can be called dollfies. It's yeah, the term that really only goes with those dolls. However, the terms super dollfie and mini super dollfie, which are also associated with Volks, they're more accepted to be used interchangeably with other dolls from other companies when talking about size. And basically it's easier than giving out the measurements like flat out, like, okay, this is how tall they are. But for the conversion between letters to numbers is basically SDs or super dollfies are about 60 centimeters and larger. The mini super dollfies or MSDs, they are about 40 to 45 centimeters tall. And then there are also tinies, and I do not believe that these, the word tinies really associates with any company. It's just any doll that's very little and they're 35 centimeters or smaller. So basically we have Archer, Luna, Gabe, and then Astrid, and they're all SD sized dolls because they're all 60 centimeters or taller. And they're also all ball jointed dolls except for Astrid right here, who is a Dollfie Dream Dynamite, and I brought her so I can show you joints, and they're on stands, so this will be interesting. But basically, yes, dolls have different joints. They can be double jointed or single jointed. And basically double joints means that they have more mobility and they can pose better. Well, they don't always pose better, but instead of just having their arm right here at this angle here, they can bring it towards their face and they can do other things. And basically, all my dolls here are double jointed. Fairyland, I really like the Fairyland dolls with their joints. So she can just, if I don't knock her over here, she can just kind of move her arms, she can touch her face here. So she also has joints on her torso. Her legs, she can move her legs like this, which not a lot of my dolls can do, even though they are double jointed. It's mostly in the arms for all of them. But then if I get Astrid over here, who is new, I just got her like a month ago, so she's like really a bit of a mess right now. I just kind of grabbed some clothes that fit her. But yeah, so basically, now obviously this doesn't exactly apply to her because she's not strong, she has an internal skeleton. But for resin dolls, basically this is the same concept with the single joints, where it's just one ball about, well, double jointed dolls can still have one ball, but it really all depends on mobility. Like, she has one ball in that socket, and she can really only move her arm to here. So it's a bit more difficult for her to touch her face. It's not really going all that well. But because she has an internal skeleton, there are ways to get around that and whatnot. But it's basically, whoop, she's falling. Here, I'll just take her out of that. It's basically the same for the legs too, where the legs only bend about that far without having to be popped out of the sockets. And then I'll just sit her right here. Alright, so I just kind of did some rearranging here, and now that I'm done talking about joints, if that really made any sense, I'm gonna basically talk about how the dolls are strung and their internal kind of stuff, which isn't really a whole lot. But basically you have the dolls, and they are obviously strung with elastic, and what holds them together is they have S-hooks. They usually have about 5, but it depends on the company and how they want to do everything. But usually they're going to be, these S-hooks are going to be found in the feet, the hands, and the head. So I'll start with Seth because he does have all these S-hooks. So the way the head cap comes off, it also depends on what company you have your doll from. His is just little magnets. And then on the inside of his head, he has an S-hook with his eyes and everything in there. That's probably not in focus because I don't know how to work this camera and video. But he has an S-hook in there and everything. And basically the elastic comes over, it loops over the bottom part of the S, then comes back into the body, and that's how the legs are strung. The two, it's one piece of elastic that overlaps and they come down like that. And then the arms are a whole lot more simple than the legs are, which is just, it's another piece of elastic and it's just tied in a knot, and then the two ends go like that, and the S hooks hook on the loops. But that stringing is a whole another thing I'm not going to get into right now because that's complicated, and there are other videos on YouTube explaining stringing madness. So yes, he had the S-hook with the magnets for his head. Whoa. And then Archer here, who is also new and does not have a wig. So he's just borrowing. They're all borrowing wigs, both of them. Basically, he's from Kobe Doll and he does not have a magnet. Well, not a full magnet, but he does not have a full magnet head cap. There's only one magnet on the bottom on each side. And then on top there's this hook that just kind of latches in, and then the magnet is what holds that bottom part down. So then for him, no, it's basically the same thing because when you take their heads off, I use a crochet hook. You can get like a string puller or a head puller or whatever, but you just pull up and then you can twist it and you drop it down, and the S-hook or the ring is going to secure the head from falling, well, not the head necessarily, but if you're taking the head, yeah, this isn't going to make any sense. Okay, so yes, he has this ring here, so his is not an S-hook, and I cannot easily take this out of his head. I have to unstring him from his feet, because really that's the only thing I can do without like completely destroying the elastic and cutting it to get that ring out. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is staining. And this is probably, staining and yelling are probably two of the most common things that people talk about aside from stringing and changing eyes when they first enter the hobby. And basically staining is really not that big of a deal. It's preventable and it can be cleaned up if it does happen. Most of the time it can be cleaned up. So basically things that stain are darker wigs and darker clothing, although grass stains can happen because it's happened to me. And those they do clean up, but not quite as well as you would hope with just what I'm going to show you. But basically, yes, dark wigs and dark clothing is what's going to stain, and that's part of the reason why Gabe right here is not dressed all nicely in his clothing, because he wears all black and it does stain the resin, and I really don't feel like cleaning him up right now, so he's just wearing some random old clothing. But when you're cleaning up a stained doll, it's probably best to use Mr. Clean Magic Eraser, and mine's all ripped up because it's been used. But usually this is the best thing, and what I do is I get a bath towel or a beach towel and I lay it out on the table or the floor wherever I'm going to be working, and I'll take off, I'll undress my dolls, I'll take off their wigs, I'll just kind of lay them out on the towels, and you basically want to use warm water, so put warm water in these and then bring them out a little bit because you really don't need that much water. And then you can just basically rub over the stained spot on the doll, and if you want to you can have a washcloth with you and just kind of dry them off, and then it should be cleaned up after that. But the one thing you don't want to do is rub the Mr. Clean Magic Eraser over the face or any area where there's like tattoos or blushing or any kind of work like that. Just because it hasn't happened to me, but it can take off the face or the tattoos or whatever it is that's on your doll. So you really want to be careful with that if the doll's face does get stained. So then, if you have a doll that's going to wear a whole lot of black clothing, or if they're going to wear darker wigs, one thing you can do to prevent as much, get rid of the, stop as much staining from what could happen is basically wash out your doll's clothing in warm soapy water. You don't have to throw it in the washing machine, you can just wash it out by hand if you want to. And this will get rid of some of the dye, and I've washed out doll jeans that are dark colors, and there was so much dye, like, well, first of all, his legs were like blue, and when I washed out, my hands were all blue, the sink was blue, there was just so much dye everywhere. But now hopefully when he wears them again he won't be stained quite as badly because they've been washed out and I've got rid of some of that excess dye. And then for wigs, for the darker wigs, he has a bit of a wig stain, and honestly, I don't find wig stains to be that much of a problem because it's where the wig goes, so unless your doll's not going to be wearing a wig, it shouldn't really be an issue. And I've also found that wig stains are probably the hardest to clean up because those are the ones that, I'm not really sure why, but they always seem to like go deeper into the resin or whatever, and they don't clean up really at all. Unless you like want to sand your doll, but I don't care enough to do that. But to prevent staining completely, mostly, whatever, on the head, just get a wig cap, and you really shouldn't run into that problem. Astrid, she has a wig cap. She's not wearing it now though because it's a blonde wig, but she's gonna have like a brownish colored wig, and so she is going to wear a wig cap. But, so that's one way. Also for Dolphy Dreams, they do sell bodysuits, but I don't know if anyone would really want to put those on a resin doll or not. And then yellowing, basically that's unavoidable. I mean, your dolls are going to yellow. Now obviously if you leave your dolls sitting in the sun for like a long time, they're going to yellow and they're going to become discolored very, very quickly. But they're going to yellow over time just because. Gabe, I don't bring him outside a lot at all. He never goes outside that much. And when I do take him places, I'm usually indoors, so he's not being exposed to direct sunlight. However, the color of his resin has changed. He was actually really yellow when I bought him, and Archer, they're both from the same brand. He was kind of a yellow, very pale yellow when I first bought him, but now he's more of a darker kind of, I don't really even know how to describe it. He's basically, Archer's paler than Gabe is, and Gabe has had discoloration just because he's older. Luna, this one right over here, I did bring, yeah, because I don't really bring them out that much anymore, but I used to bring her out a lot to like art shows and arts fests and things, and she would be put in direct sunlight because I'd be walking around outside. And now, that was like years ago, because I've been in this hobby for 3 or 4 years ago. But basically, yeah, so I brought her out. She does have discoloration on her arms and her legs. And you can see that because when she's undressed, her arms and legs are more yellow than her torso. But to be honest, it's really not that noticeable. And she's going to be dressed, so not that big of a deal. Really the only way to have them not yellow is to keep them in a dark enclosed box forever and ever, and even still, just because of age, they're probably going to discolor. But moral of that is, do not leave your dolls in direct sunlight if you can. Like this table where I'm sitting at now, if it was a bright sunny day, the sun would be blasting me in the face right now, but it's an overcast, so it's fine. But that's exactly why I don't leave my dolls in this room, because the sun is very, very strong on sunny days and it comes right through the window over there. And if it were to hit my dolls for like an hour or two a day, they would discolor like really quickly, and I don't want that. So yes, that is my hopefully somewhat well-y explained BJD basic rundown of basicness, because really that wasn't really in-depth at all. So yes, I hope that made some sense. So thank you for watching. Bye!